It's good to be here. And it's been good to be here for the last 2 days. In fact, if you were a part of the Sundance reward trip, it's been good to be here for a week. Candidly, I told the people backstage, I said, you know, when Todd's on like this, it's better just to shut it down because you're finished.
Right.
And I would have liked to just got out here and said, have a great flight home. Because what you just heard was crystal clear and diamond true. For 15 years, really, he and I worked together as distributors. I can't get that word out of my head. I know it's called franchise owner or franchise partner now, but we were distributors in those days, and he and I had a pact, and the pact was we would tell each other the truth as we saw it about each other. So if one of us did something on some particular event or stage that we were working or at some interaction and the other one thought it was, you know, not productive or in some way not useful, that person would tell the other person about it. As I've said many times in many forums, that single relationship of truth telling has been the most significant thing that's helped me become a better person. Everyone needs someone to tell them the truth. It isn't always what you need to do, but it is always what you need to hear. So you need to know how other people are seeing you, how they perceive you. You need to understand it so that you can make adjustments where necessary. Now, he can... 15 years of sure, he hasn't actually stopped. I've actually stopped telling him the truth, but he hasn't. So I thought maybe we could like end that, you know, when I came inside the company, but it only accelerated. And I'm grateful. I am truly grateful. It's been a great day today, hasn't it? I mean, we've heard from so many powerhouse leaders. And every single one of these people gave us their best stuff. I mean, I didn't get a chance to see Aaron afterwards, but I talked to all the others and said, that was the best stuff. And I'll tell Aaron, that was your best stuff. I mean, it was good. I was taking notes all day today. I mean, I got my little notebook because I am taking notes. You know, I mean, I've had a few mathematics classes, but not many. But reverting to the mean. I wrote that down. I like just the way that phrase comes off the tongue. Actually, it's better when it comes off with that New Zealand accent, but I'm going to have to keep that one. I wrote that down. I wrote stuff down from Rick, and I wrote stuff down from Jim and T. Gray. I wrote stuff down from Jen. I hope you did too. Very important material here from people who are sharing with you things that can make you better. One of the things that I often reflect about is my 15 years in the financial services industry. It was a tough business in those days. Things have changed in a lot of ways in that industry, but when I was there, you had to go out and find the clients. Then you had to convince the client to give you the money. Then you had to find the stocks to invest the money in. Then you had to watch the stocks to make sure they went up and not down, as if that could matter. And then when they went down, which they do, you had to go back and explain why it wasn't your fault. And you had to convince the client to stay with you. Basically, you were in the business of both acquiring the client and managing the portfolio, which was an extremely tall order for anyone to do. That industry changed over the last couple of decades since I've been out of it. Today, if you engage with a broker, it doesn't matter really who it is, whether it's from Merrill or JP Morgan or any of the big Wall Street firms, you have the guys who are out there meeting and interfacing with the client, and then they assign the asset to a manager or a series of managers to manage the money. They manage the relationship Somebody else who has only to focus on the management of the money manages the money. Do you see a parallel with what we're trying to do here? We're trying to create an environment where we give you a hothouse or a greenhouse where we'll incubate for you these people so you don't have to. You bring in that tender, fragile little plant, whether it's a client, a junior manager, or a manager, and we'll put it in the greenhouse for you. And we'll make sure it gets proper fertilizer, we'll make sure it gets proper water, we'll make sure it gets the right amount of heat and the right amount of sunlight, and we'll hand you back 13 weeks later a pretty good, solid tree that if you manage the business aspects of it, you'll be able to help that tree grow into one of those perpetual trees that produces fruit for itself and for you for the rest of your life and then some. That's our point. That's our goal. We have felt for some time that our industry is broken because we require people to do two things: to find partners and customers, and then to manage those partners and customers in the product side of the business. But we don't pay them for that second part. We only pay them for the first part. And so what happens is many people come into our business and they're conflicted almost immediately, because they know they've got to go out and get new clients, new prospects every day, because that's where the income stream comes from. But behind them are people who still need them. They need help, they need encouragement, they need nourishment, they need nurturing. And almost all people who come into our business are really good people. They're salt of the earth people. They're like you. And they want to do the right thing. And so they're drawn emotionally to do the right thing over here, but financially they've got to go over here and do this. And the conflict tears people apart. Usually the very best people get torn apart the most. We don't want to have that equation anymore. We want to break that dilemma. We want to create an environment where you can focus on what it is that you do, which is acquire clients and partners and train people on the business, coach them on the business. Let us take them through that first 13 weeks and train them on the product, how to use it correctly, how to produce the results that it's capable of producing. Now, I want to deal with a few other things in the short time. Todd took about 20 minutes of my time. And I'm grateful for every minute he took. Because quite frankly, he said it better than I could say it. And I'm just grateful for that. But there's a couple of things I do want to deal with. We have many systems, even in this room. We have leaders that have their own unique system, and I've always been supportive of that. I don't believe the company should have or mandate a system. I don't think, even though I know how to do this business, I don't think this company should ever mandate how to do the business. That is the leadership role. That is your role to do it. You have an upline in most cases, or perhaps you are the upline that has a system. I honor the system that you have. But there are many systems in our company. There are systems, like I say, probably 10 or 15 in this room that are already productive and working. And there are systems from other markets around the world that are productive and working. But I have found that there are 5 elements in every successful system. And I want to talk to you a little bit about those 5 elements. Every time I really analyze anybody's system, whether it's Jim's system, or whether it's Aaron's system, or whether it's Rick's system, or whether it's Kunjo's system in Thailand, or Jinhee Park's system in Korea, every time I analyze those systems, I find these 5 elements. And some of these elements are really going to be, very familiar to you. And some, perhaps, may be very new to you. Number 1, vision. You've got to have the ability to see things that are not yet tangible and feel things that are not yet physical. Now, you have that ability. You may not have developed it. You may not have made it more sharp and defined, but it is inherent in your being to be able to see things not tangible, or visible, and feel things not tangible. That is vision. It's the ability to look out into the future and see what should be and make it real enough. Aaron used the words emotion-laden and sensory-rich, words that I've used for 30 years as I've made my goals. With that written statement, emotion-laden and sensory-rich. I look out and see what I really, really deeply want, and then I build around it all of the emotions that will happen when I get it, all the senses that I will see and feel and smell and taste and touch when I get it. And I build those into it. And I review those things until they become real to me, which is long before they become physical to me. Now, what happens when this process catches is that you then have the power to do what you must do to become the kind of person that earns the right to receive the rewards that you want to have. Todd spoke the truth to you. To make $75,000 a month, you have to provide $75,000 worth of value a month. Now, you can do that only if you're the kind of person that can provide that kind of value. But to become that kind of person requires first the vision. Because it's the vision embedded in the DNA, in your heart and in your mind, that causes you to be willing to go through the pain of change such that you can do what you must do to get where you have to be. Aaron Ralston, a Colorado mountain climber, was hiking in a remote canyon in southern Utah in 2003. I know some of those canyons, and I've hiked those slot canyons. They are dangerous places to be, especially by yourself. But Aaron is a skilled and experienced mountaineer. He felt he could do it. Sometimes bad things happen. An 800-pound boulder slipped and adjusted itself as he was moving through this particular narrow passage, and it trapped his arm, his right arm. No matter what he did, he could not move his arm from underneath that boulder, and he could not lift it. He was there for 5 lonely days and nights, growing ever weaker. On the 5th day, he had basically decided to give himself up to death, to accept the inevitable fate. No one was coming, and he couldn't get out. In his mental wandering, some would say his delusion, I would say his mind became sharpened and clear. He saw in his mind himself scooping up a 3-year-old boy with his left arm. He took the vision to be representative of the son he would have someday when he married, because he was still single. The vision gave him the courage to break his arm in 2 places, and then with his dull pocket knife saw off his arm. And then summon the strength to walk 5 miles until he could see someone who could get him help. Today he has a son and a wife, and is, of course, even more remarkable a human being because of what he's gone through and what he overcame. Now, what does that mean to you?